pie.
Fine.
Buzz, how's the fishing these days?
It's not very good around here, but there's a big run of marlin up Tijuana.
Yeah?
We're taking a party down there Sunday morning.
How do you like this guy? Gets paid to go fishing while we slave over a hot carburetor.
You said it.
Hey, Dan, we got room for one more. Why don't you come along?
When are you going to get back?
Late Monday night?
Monday night, that lets me out. I couldn't get Monday off.
You could get away if you wanted to. You just don't want to miss spending Sunday with the girlfriend.
Helen? No, they busted up a couple of months ago. By the way, she called you again this morning.
She did?
I told her you wasn't in for the 19th time.
Good, good.
How do you like this guy? There's a dame I trade my right arm for, and he gives it the runaround.
Maybe he's found a new dish.
No, I spent 4 years in the Navy fighting for freedom. Why get anchored down now? Besides, she was getting too serious.
Your wedding bells, huh?
They were getting louder and louder. I figured she's too nice to string along. But she won't take no for an answer.
Some dames are sure hard to shake off. I once knew a blonde. Boy,
And her
Her name was Margie.
How'd you know?
We've heard the story a dozen times.
A couple of dozen times. Hey, we better be getting back or old man Mackey will blow a fuse.
Right. Here, that's for you. Hey.
The architecture of coincidence. I am young enough to not care, old enough to not be brave. I have always wondered what the existential mind looks like, not knowing, for most of my life, that I was becoming one. You do not feel it happening. It is more like a lens that adjusts, slowly, without your permission, until one day you look up at the same sky you have looked at 1,000 times, and realize you are no longer seeing stars. You are seeing distance. You are seeing time. You are seeing the raw, unreasonable fact that light can travel for 1 billion years, land on the retina of something that will be dead in 80, while neither the light nor the retina will ever understand why the other exists. The universe does not owe you an explanation, but sometimes it gives you one anyway. That is worse. Because an explanation you did not ask for, from a source you cannot identify, in a language you do not speak, is not an answer. It is an invitation to a question that will never close. Carl Jung once said that synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see it. I read that line at 19, in a library that smelled like old paper, in a country I had not yet learned to call mine. I did not understand it. I thought he was talking about coincidences, about bumping into someone you were just thinking about, or hearing a word you just learned for the first time 3 more times in the same day. I thought he was dressing up a statistical inevitability in the language of mystery, the way people do when they want the universe to be more interesting than it is. I was wrong. He was talking about a crack in the architecture of everything, a fault line running through the foundation of what we call real, visible only in moments when the ground shifts, the furniture slides. You realize with a vertigo that no amount of rationality can cure, that the floor you have been standing on was never solid. That solidity was a feature of your perception. I am 24 years old. I have seen the crack. I do not know what is on the other side. I am not sure I want to. I need to talk about the sky first, because the sky is where it started. I am sitting in the backyard of a house I do not own, in a borrowed chair, in the kind of quiet that only happens after midnight, when the neighborhood has finished performing its daily impression of being alive. The insects are doing their thing. The air has that particular weight, just present, the way air becomes present when there is nothing else competing for your attention. Above me, the sky is being impossible. I do not mean beautiful. Beautiful is a word for things you can hold at arm's length. The sky tonight is too close, too far, at the same time. It is pressing down on me, pulling me up into it. The contradiction is physical. I can feel it in my sternum, a tightness, a wrongness. The particular discomfort of a body that knows it is small, trying to look at something that does not have the decency to be finite. The stars are not arranged for me. I know this the way I know that the ground is below me, as gravity. The stars are nuclear furnaces consuming themselves at distances that the human brain can convert into numbers, but never into feeling. 4 light years to the nearest one. 4 years of photons traveling at 186,000 miles per second. My brain processes this, files it, moves on. My brain is built to notice the rustle in the grass that might be a snake. My brain is built for a world that is 6 feet tall, 2 miles wide. The sky tonight is neither of those things. Something in me is breaking under the disproportion. This is where it starts. With a body in a chair, looking up, feeling the specific loneliness of a creature that is conscious enough to know it is alone, but too young to know whether alone is the right word. Because here is the thing about the sky, about the stars, about the whole absurd, beautiful, indifferent arrangement of matter that we call the universe. It should not bother me. If the universe is what I was taught it is, a mechanism, a process, a set of equations solving themselves without reference to anything as parochial as human feeling, then looking up should be no different from looking at a wall. The wall does not care about me. I do not lie awake at night feeling wounded by its indifference. We coexist without drama. But the sky is an invitation to a question I did not ask, cannot withdraw from. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why does the something contain me? Why does the me contain the capacity to ask? These are wounds, actual, physical, present tense wounds that open every time I sit still long enough to stop performing, start looking. I came to this country at 19. I say this because there is something about displacement, about standing in a place that does not yet recognize you, that accelerates the existential process. When you are home, the world is furniture. It is arranged for you. It speaks your language. The streets make sense. The faces make sense. The rhythm of the day makes sense. You do not question the architecture because the architecture was built around you. When you are displaced, the architecture is someone else's. The streets are legible but unfamiliar. The faces are human but unrecognizable. The rhythm is something you can learn but never quite remember. In that gap, between learning and remembering, between knowing and belonging, something opens up, a space, a silence. The kind of silence that has less to do with the absence of sound than the absence of the thing that usually prevents you from hearing what the silence contains. In that silence, I heard the crack for the first time. I was reading, I think, or walking, or sitting in a room that was too small, too new, too quiet. A thought arrived, the kind that lands fully formed, like a bird on a wire. The thought was this: what if the loneliness I feel is not mine? What if it is structural, built into the fabric of consciousness the way weight is built into matter? What if every conscious being that has ever existed has felt this exact feeling, as a property of being aware? Almost immediately, close enough that the timing felt deliberate, close enough that the hair on my arms stood up, a sentence drifted through the wall from a television in another apartment. I do not remember the show. I do not remember the voice. I remember the words. You were never supposed to carry this alone. I know what this sounds like. I know the objection before it forms. The brain is a pattern machine. It is scanning millions of inputs per day, flagging overlaps. Of course, a television will occasionally say something that aligns with what you are thinking. The same way a broken clock is right twice a day. The same way a monkey at a typewriter will eventually produce a sentence that sounds like Shakespeare. This is statistics. This is the clustering illusion. This is confirmation bias wearing a trench coat, pretending to be God. I know, I have read the papers. I understand the neuroscience. I have sat in the same rooms as people who explain these things with the patient condescension of someone returning a lost child to its parents. I have nodded. I have agreed. I have gone home, laid in the dark, known, with a certainty that no peer-reviewed paper has been able to dissolve, that the explanation is correct but insufficient, that it describes the mechanism while missing the meaning, that it is the right answer to the wrong question. Because the question is never how the coincidence occurred. The brain can generate a how for anything. It is the most prolific storyteller in the known universe. Its stories about randomness, probability, neural pattern matching are good stories, well told, internally consistent, utterly incapable of accounting for the felt quality of the experience, the way the moment lands, the way it has weight, the way it arrives like a reply. A reply from the structure of things, from the way things are arranged, from whatever is doing the arranging, if anything is. That if is the crack I keep coming back to, the crack I cannot seal, the crack that lets the light in, or the madness in, or both, because at this point I am not entirely sure there is a difference. Let me talk about what physics has done to the comfortable story, because physics has done something to it. The something is not small. There is a phenomenon called quantum entanglement. Two particles interact. From that point on, they are correlated. Measure one, the other, regardless of the distance between them, instantaneously assumes the complementary state. Instantaneously, as though the space between them does not exist, as though they are one thing wearing two masks. The removal of one mask reveals the other, no matter how far apart the masks have traveled. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. He spent the rest of his career trying to prove it was wrong. He failed. The experiments of Alain Aspect in 1982, dozens since, confirmed it. The correlations are real. They are non-local. They violate every intuition we have about the way things should work, that effects should follow causes, that influences should travel through space, that two things separated by distance should behave independently. Entanglement says no. Entanglement says the universe is capable of connections that do not pass through the space between the things they connect. That the universe, at its most fundamental level, is a web, a fabric, a single something that appears to be many somethings only from a certain angle, at a certain scale, to a certain kind of mind. I am not a physicist. I do not pretend that entanglement explains what happened to me in that apartment with the television. The scales are wrong. Human experience does not operate at the level of photon pairs. The mathematics does not support the leap. I am not interested in making leaps that the mathematics cannot catch. But entanglement tells me something that I cannot unhear. It tells me that non-local correlation is real. It tells me that the universe is not obligated to connect things through causal chains. It tells me that the reflexive dismissal of every unexplained correlation as mere coincidence is an assumption carried over from a worldview that the physics itself has outgrown. Newton's universe was local. Einstein's universe was local. He fought to keep it that way. The actual universe, the one that shows up in the experiments, is not. If the universe is non-local, if connection without causation is built into the source code, then telling me that a meaningful coincidence is just a coincidence is like telling me that a wave is just water. It is technically true, existentially useless. It describes the material while ignoring the pattern. It explains the how, walks away from the why as though the why were a stray dog that would stop following if you ignored it long enough. The why does not stop following. There is another thing. Time. I experience time the way everyone experiences time, as a river. One moment flows into the next. The past is behind me. The future is ahead. The present is this thin, impossible surface where the river breaks against my consciousness. I am aware, briefly, before the moment passes. The next one arrives. This is so fundamental, so constant, so obviously true that questioning it feels like questioning the existence of my own hands. The equations of general relativity question it. They describe a four-dimensional block in which past, present, future coexist, literally, structurally, mathematically. every moment that has ever occurred, every moment that will ever occur, is equally real, equally present, equally there. The flow of time is a property of consciousness, the particular way a pattern embedded in the block experiences its own structure, the way a needle on a record experiences the groove beneath it as a sequence of sounds, even though the entire record exists all at once. I'm not moving through time. I am a shape in time, a waveform, a knot. If this is true, the mathematics does not flinch. Then two events that appear separated by a gap, that appear to require a causal chain to connect them, might not be separated at all. They might be adjacent in a dimension I cannot perceive. 2 points on the surface of a geometry so large that my experience of before and after is just the sound of my own consciousness reading the block one slice at a time, like a sentence read left to right by an eye that cannot see the whole page. A synchronicity in this light is a seam, a place where the deeper pattern shows through the surface, a stitch that was supposed to be invisible but was not quite tight enough to hide from someone who had stopped looking so hard that they could finally see. Jung knew this, or rather he suspected it, which is the more honest word for the state of someone who has seen something that the available frameworks cannot hold. He spent 30 years circling it. He called it synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle. The careful, almost legalistic quality of the phrase tells you how aware he was of the danger. He was saying something quieter, harder to accept than most people realize, that certain events in the outer world and certain states in the inner world sometimes align in ways connected by meaning rather than cause. That this connection by meaning is a property of reality, a feature of the way the world is actually structured, at a level deeper than the level at which cause and effect operate. He found an unlikely ally in Wolfgang Pauli, who was the last man you would expect to spend decades corresponding with a psychologist about the intersection of mind and matter. Pauli was brutal, precise, famous for his contempt of ideas that could not withstand scrutiny. Not even wrong, he would say, which was his way of telling you that your theory was so poorly formed it did not even rise to the level of being incorrect. He won the Nobel Prize. He formulated the exclusion principle. He was, by every measure, a man who lived inside the fortress of rigor, did not open the gate for visitors. Yet the gate was open. Pauli dreamed in archetypes. He watched laboratory equipment fail in his presence with a regularity that his colleagues found first amusing, then unsettling. He wrote to Jung about the possibility that the objective and the subjective were complementary provinces of a single country, a country he could not map, could not name, could not prove existed, but could not stop visiting in his sleep. The fact that a man like Pauli could not let go of this question does not prove the question has an answer, but it proves that the question is the kind of thing that occurs to people who have started thinking so carefully that they have pushed past the edge of the map, found, instead of the dragons the old cartographers warned about, a silence, a vast, charged, expectant silence, full of something that does not have a name yet, because the naming has not caught up with the seeing. David Bohm called it the implicate order, the idea that the reality we see, the world of separate objects, edges, distances, sequences, is an unfolded expression of a deeper reality in which nothing is separate, in which everything is enfolded into everything else, in which the distinction between here and there, between now and then, between me and the sky I am looking at, is a feature of the unfolding, the particular way the implicate order has arranged itself into an explicate display, the way a single hologram contains the entire image in every fragment. He used a metaphor I have never been able to shake. A drop of ink placed into a cylinder of glycerin, stirred until it appears to dissolve, gone, dispersed, indistinguishable from the surrounding fluid. But reverse the stirring, the drop re-emerges, intact, whole. It was never gone, it was enfolded, made implicit. The order was always there, it was simply invisible from the angle at which you were looking. I think about that ink drop at 3 in the morning, in the backyard, in the borrowed chair. I think about it when a coincidence arrives with the precision of something that was placed rather than something that occurred. I think about it when I hear my own thought in a stranger's sentence, when I find my own question on a page I opened at random, when the world mirrors me with such accuracy that for a moment I cannot tell whether I am inside looking out or outside looking in. The ink drop was never gone. It was enfolded. What if meaning works the same way? What if the meaning I am looking for, the significance, the coherence, the sense that this is not all just noise, has not been destroyed by the modern understanding of the universe? What if it has been enfolded, made implicit, hidden in the structure of the whole, invisible to a mode of perception that only knows how to look at surfaces? What if the coincidence is the moment the stirring reverses, the drop re-emerges? For one instant, the implicate order becomes explicate. I see, with something beneath my eyes, something older than language, something that has been looking, long before I learned to call it looking, that the world is one thing. I do not want to be the kind of person who sees signs in everything. I do not want to be the person who interprets license plates as prophecy, who treats every overheard fragment as a cosmic telegram, who has replaced the hard work of thinking with the easy pleasure of believing. I have seen those people, I have listened to them. Their certainty, the absolute unshakable conviction that the universe is speaking directly to them, has a quality that is less like revelation, more like sedation. It is too comfortable, too complete. It has filled in all the gaps, answered all the questions, sealed all the cracks. A mind without cracks is a mind without light. But I also do not want to be the kind of person who has sealed the cracks from the other direction, who has decided in advance that the universe is dead, that meaning is a human projection, that consciousness is an accident, that every moment of uncanny resonance between the inner world and the outer world is nothing more than the brain doing push-ups in front of its own mirror. That position is comfortable too. It has its own sedation, its own completeness, its own suspicious absence of cracks. I want to stand in the crack. I want to hold the question without collapsing it into an answer. I want to look at the sky, feel the loneliness, feel alongside it the strange, intermittent, unverifiable suspicion that the loneliness is based on a misunderstanding about the partition between me and the sky, about where I end, where it begins, about whether I and it are even the right pronouns for what is actually happening when a pattern of matter looks up at more matter, feels, against all logic, against all evidence, against every philosophical argument that has ever been marshaled in defense of the void, that it is being seen. Seen, the way one consciousness sees another, the way you recognize yourself in someone else's eyes, that particular, unreproducible, scientifically meaningless, humanly indispensable experience of being met. The sky does not know my name. I keep coming back to that. It is the foundation of the honest position, the starting point from which any serious thinking about these questions must begin. The stars are not arranged for me. The constellations are a human fiction. The photons landing on my retina were emitted before my civilization existed. They will continue to be emitted after my species is gone. The universe is a process, vast, impersonal, elegant, absolutely indifferent to whether I find it meaningful. And yet, the process has produced me. It has produced a thing that looks for meaning. It has produced, from hydrogen, gravity, 4 billion years of blind, stupid, gorgeous evolution, a nervous system that can feel the weight of its own insignificance. Call that feeling loneliness. It has produced a creature that can stand in a backyard, look at the stars, ache, actually ache, physically, in the chest, because the stars are beautiful. The beauty does not care. This is the deepest synchronicity, the one beneath all the others. The fact that the universe has generated from dead matter a form of matter that asks questions, a thing that can ask whether the universe has meaning, which means that the universe, through this thing, is asking itself. If that is not a meaningful coincidence, if the emergence of meaning-seeking consciousness from a cosmos that is supposed to be meaningless is not the most staggering, improbable, unexplained correlation in the history of everything, then I do not know what the word means. I do not know why we invented language at all, if not to stand in the gap between what we know, what we feel, try, hopelessly, to build a bridge. It is late. The insects have changed their rhythm. The air has that pre-dawn quality, somehow thinner, as though the atmosphere is exhaling, making room for what comes next. I am still in the chair. I have not moved. I have not resolved anything. The crack is still there, running through the center of every question I have ever asked about what this is, what I am doing here, whether here is the kind of place that knows it has visitors. I do not have an answer. I am not looking for one. An answer would close the question. The question, I am beginning to think, is the point. The question is the organ of perception. The question is the sense I was not taught to trust. The capacity for detecting coherence in a world that insists it has none. It is crude, this sense. It is unreliable. It is easily fooled. But it is the only instrument I have that can register the particular frequency at which the universe occasionally, unpredictably, without explanation or apology, rhymes with itself. I sit in the backyard. I look up. The stars do not know my name. The sky does not bend. The cosmos continues its ancient, mechanical, indifferent work. The fusion, the expansion, the slow entropic unwinding of everything into everything else. In the middle of all that machinery, in the narrow, temporary, unrepeatable gap between the birth of my consciousness and its extinction, something happens that the machinery cannot account for. A moment lands, a word arrives, a pattern in the world aligns with a pattern in me. For one breath that I cannot reproduce, cannot predict, cannot explain to anyone who is not sitting in this exact chair at this exact moment with this exact arrangement of thought, feeling, starlight. The universe winks. I, young enough to not care, old enough to not be brave, too far from home to pretend this is not happening, too awake to go back inside and forget, I wink back. A coincidence is the universe caught in the act of being one thing. Peace. Kiyo.